And we are live. Okay, what's going on, guys? So
That's
we're just
good.
gonna do. So we're just gonna share on social media and all that, we're live and all that.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's get going. All right. And yeah, yeah. We always start a little sloppy at first, but that's I think that's the role of it now, or the drill, as they call it. I don't know. All right, now I can focus. Now I don't have my phone, so I can speak sort of normal now, I guess.
Yeah.
So
What's up?
what's going on, guys? Here, okay, I have two things going on. So I have like when I have other tabs open, guys, that's when like the distortion comes and going. All right, I think it's fine now. Okay, what's going on, guys? I'm Tom. That's Anthony.
What's up?
This is our show, a question about the magic. And yeah, no. So this is our guest, Devin Farrell, with the
That's good.
Yankee hat without a a brim, and we got and we got Anthony with the Pokemon hat, which I think you've seen him with. That's his
Right.
trademark. That's how I know Anthony. And yeah, this is question about the magic, and this is our second live stream for the day. So yeah, let's begin. So Devin is a musician. He also goes to the same college as me, like Akil and Kato at SUNY Oswego. But I actually met him at first when I was at Suffolk County Community College and all that. And I remembered him always with a guitar in his hand. He had like at the time he had the long hair and all that stuff. And I was telling him in the message the other day, I was telling you how like because I've been rewatching Big Time Rush because it's on Netflix, and there's like that guy guitar dude, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what Devin reminded me of. Like yeah, like with the guy with the guitar, what's up. But yeah,
Person then, yeah.
yeah, no. You should definitely put the sunglasses on and do that and greet people like that. It's a cool
Oh
way.
yeah. I don't think I have any sunglasses on me right
Yeah.
now.
But definitely go like the what's up. It's
Solid.
definitely a cool thing, and worth it. But yeah, no. So yeah, so Devin, I guess the first question I'll ask is about what's your life as a musician like at the moment?
Right now I'm finishing up an internship at Subcat Studios in Syracuse. I'm
Okay.
learning how to do all kinds of things. The goal is to become a freelancer who so I can track people, mix for them.
All
They
right.
come to the studio, they come and record their stuff, or they pay for a session where I mix stuff. I'm learning how to DJ, I'm starting to DJ,
Oh,
um, and I'm just also just making kind of my own music. But so I'm kind of
oh,
like spread out wide. I'm not entirely like um, I don't have like a streamlined focus on one of the things. So when you ask for music, I didn't really have a whole lot to show you, but um,
right. But it seems like also from what you've been telling me, you've also been doing like a lot like yeah, like or like learning more about like the process of like music producing, which is also a great field and also definitely a moneymaker in the business as well.
yeah,
And
hopefully.
yeah, yeah. And what has it been like doing that, like working at your internship and getting involved in that?
Oh, it's been great. Like I honestly feel like I learned more there than most of my time at Oswego
Really? Oh,
because
that's awesome.
because of the pandemic and all that, we haven't had a whole lot of hands-on experience at Oswego, especially for recording classes and all that. So I had to learn, and I'm a very much hands-on learner, and it's also a really cool place. A lot of cool people go through there. I learned a lot, not only about signal flow and tracking and you know music business, but I learned about like you know I learned how to be a better musician in by being in proximity to these musicians coming in there.
Oh, that's awesome. And like, so as a musician, like, what do you mainly do? Like, you mainly play guitar?
No, I actually play piano mostly or
Oh,
sing.
you play piano mostly.
Um,
Okay.
I
And
still do play guitar though.
okay. Oh, so piano, like, was that your main instrument like when you first started? Like, it's different.
No. When you knew me, it was really pretty much just singing and guitar.
Oh,
Self-taught piano, and I find I vibe more with the piano than
oh, all right.
guitar.
Wow.
But I've been getting back into guitar a bit lately, and I'm also trying to rap, but I want to like do credit to doing it.
Yeah,
So I don't
yeah,
want to be like Macklemore.
right,
uh,
right.
so
But yeah, now like okay, because I remember you. So are you now? Would you say you're self-taught at guitar too, or did you have lessons as a kid?
both, and
Okay.
so mostly self-taught, and but also had some lessons here and there. With I had a lot of singing lessons.
Oh wow.
I don't know what good they did for me personally. I don't know how good I am still. So like,
Hmm.
um, piano, I had to take piano proficiency twice at Oswego, but the
Okay.
rest, which helped a lot, but
Okay.
majority of my time was self-taught.
So now are you right. So now are you a music major or is that
Yeah.
okay? And is that what the like what's the main title for it at Oswego?
So it's a BA in music, and
Oh,
they have different tracks. So I'm in the recording and production track.
okay. Now as like because I know you said you were trying to get more in like DJ and mixing it. Did you do any of the stuff at Oswego on the radio station or no?
No, it's not like a radio DJing.
Oh, okay.
It's like like when you have
Well, right. Like party and stuff, but I know that like just from experience because I know Anthony actually knows somebody who is a DJ actually and does like mixes with Suffolk Radio, right, Anthony, or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. No, but that's cool though, doing like the mixes and all that too, learning that as well. Yeah. Now, like, what is your like now? So, because I remember like when I met you and stuff like that, when you had the guitar, when you had the guitar in your hand a lot, you were a big fan in like the '60s stuff, and I think like that's how that's what I remember like talking about. Like I know you're big in like Donovan, I think the Beatles too, right?
uh I would say, to be honest, who I was then is perhaps completely different than who I am now.
Oh, really? So you have like a new identity in some ways.
For the most part, yeah.
Really?
I'm very much. I mean, there's still some people who still influence me, but right now, I'm very much influenced by hip hop,
Oh, wow.
70s funk,
Wow.
R&B is kind of a weird term, but yeah, R&B.
Oh, that's fun.
Um, but I also love like a lot of stuff like folk or
Yeah.
I've gotten really into jazz and blues,
Yeah.
but definitely very much into hip hop and R&B and funk.
Well, it's funny. I guess it makes sense too because I mean, yeah, like you definitely look different at the time. Like,
Oh,
like
sorry.
long hair.
Also,
Oh yeah.
electronic.
No,
Sorry,
because like
that was-
definitely having the long hair definitely reminded me of like when you said you were in the '60s. I was like, yep, totally. You know, that like definitely, like there's definitely resemblance there with that.
oh
And,
yeah.
but yeah, no, I think that's the thing. I've like I've talked to like with other musicians on the show and all that stuff. That when you're into like there's always like the main stuff you're into, but you always like want to like go out into other stuff or listen to other stuff. Like for instance, like
Yeah.
I listened, like one dot time around the time like when you knew me, I had a real kick into the early Beach Boys music of like the early '60s, not like the Pet Sound stuff, like the surfing music. And then like later on, like I started getting into like other '70s and '80s stuff, and I'm thinking like, yeah, why was I into that shit? Like even though it's great music and all that stuff, it's just like you want more and all that stuff because like I was a Beatles fan growing up as a kid, as you see with the Beatles poster over there, like half of the Beatles poster.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I'm still Beatles are always my favorite bands and all that. But then like senior year, like I got into a real like Elton John kick and all that stuff.
Oh, word, yeah.
And now it's funny, like with me, like in my music taste, I'm into still in like the late '60s, but I'm still like on this big kick with the band, like Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and all.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, like I'm on a big kick like with that stuff, and like Neil Young, Van Morrison, all that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, so let's talk a little bit about more like now you're getting more into like the hip hop now and stuff like that. What made you transfer to like more of like leaning towards more of that type of genre than the '60s folk era?
If I'm gonna be brutally honest,
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I mean, Long Island's a very segregated and classist place, and I feel like my environment led to me in being into that type of music a lot. And then as I was able to get out of there, fortunately, I was able to experience a lot more, and becoming a music major really also helped. And so I was gradually getting more away. Well, I was trying to expand my horizons a lot, and eventually, when I came to Oswego, it kind of exploded, you could say, and I found what I really, really vibe with
Wow.
from the people who I was friends with, fellow music majors, people who weren't music majors, people who are no longer who I were friends with at one point aren't, but um, I just wanted I learned more about a lot of the things that people don't know or don't like what I guess what white people wouldn't be aware of until it was
Right.
it's a long story, but like basically I just liked it, and I over time I was just I got really into it, and I delved more and more and more and learned more about it, and it just became my thing, and I'm like, well, this
Wow.
is what I love.
Yeah.
So,
And also too, I mean, I think like the thing too is like, because like I told you, I had a Keel on earlier, and he was talking about like some of like his own rap that he does, and like I was talking about like the song that he showed me, it's very like like what I was talking about with him, how he was writing like about like very like truthful lyrics of the place he's in at the moment. And I
yeah.
think honestly, that's like what rapping or what that type of like that's what's so powerful about that music is that a lot of these rappers not are trying to fake it. They're telling it how it is. Like somebody who's struggling is not like gonna write like that. They're rich and partying in a mansion and all that stuff. They're telling it how it is. I mean, of course you can have those songs and those are good too. But in order to, I think like as like with rapping, there comes like a part of a type of storytelling that you need and a type of like like and you need to be in a sense biographical in a sense.
um
I like
I
that
suppose,
description.
yeah, there's definitely bops when it comes to like, I mean, like Pop Smoke is a legendary person who hit the scene like a comet, and you know he's from Brooklyn, and he rapped a lot about the wealth that he obtained, and the reason why, and I still, and I think it can go. The beautiful thing about music is that like there's definitely a lot of rappers out there that will just be kind of like rappers with chains usually, but like will be like
Yeah.
uh corny, but like uh I feel like there's a deeper message underneath, even if it sounds to a lot of people like party music, like for example like Element by Pop Smoke, or even I don't want to talk about the baby right now because it's not the best time to talk about the baby right now, but uh 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 but yeah, no, I also, but I do tend to lean towards a lot of hip hop that's a lot more soulful, a lot more. I don't want to say contra rap because it's kind of cringy, but Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, or Rod Wave, or a lot of modern funk bands like Duran Jones and the Indications. Just really soulful stuff.
Well, it shows you too that there's a lot that I don't know with music because I don't know any of those groups. But that's stuff I want to get into because like with
Yeah,
me as with somebody with music has like loving like like rock and all that stuff because like for me like there's always like these types of genres I've been into at the moment. Like 10 years ago was when I really got into like the early days of rock in the 50s. I'm not like in that place anymore, even though like I still love it and I still like
yeah.
can vibe with it at times. It's just like it doesn't represent me at the moment. And I think like of what you're saying of like it's like the thing with you, it's like it like there's a specific music that like you love, but it's like at a moment you're vibing with something else, and it's like it's just of like your interests of what you're into, and like it. And what's cool about like though with the music that you're into, like with hip hop, there's so much like that you get into from like let's say like you're listening to like the beginning stages of it from maybe the late 70s to early 80s. then it just transforms more to like 90s and then 2000s, and they're all still good because the problem I feel like in some ways with rock around the time of like the 80s and the 90s, like that's when I don't feel like I'm not a huge fan of like rock music from the 90s, and especially in the 2000s and 2010s. I felt like it synced a little bit more. I feel like rap in a sense is kind of vibing more like and striving more as a way than rock is now. Like rock is still around. I'm not saying rock and roll is dead, but I'm saying it's more like independent than it was. It's not mainstream on the radio. It's like it's really here now is a lot of like pop stuff.
I so sorry, I just want to break I just want to break it down for a sec. If I guess so, yeah. With radio and the role of the record company in music has diminished significantly with the advent of streaming, and better ways to become an independent artist. They still have a presence. However, if I'm an artist, I'm not gonna, I'm probably not gonna sign. Personally, I'm not gonna sign with a label. I'm going. I also just don't want to become that famous. I don't want to deal with that. But like, I don't want a 360 deal or anything like that. But
you just don't want to feel like kind of like obligated to like a specific company. You can, in some ways, be like your own boss, or just like have like own ways, like other ways to be successful.
Right. So with a rock or with any person who does music, it's a lot easier to build your following through social media and through YouTube and through all that, and then go. Once you've built that following, play shows and do tours, and then start producing stuff in the studio. Once you start releasing stuff, or I might have that slightly mixed up, but like I'm not a music business major, so. But like in terms of like time periods with 70s and 80s and 90s and all that, I think there's different good stuff for each decade. Like if you might vibe with the 60s, but then you started to find yourself with the 70s. But like, what parts of the 60s or 70s was it like Jimi Hendrix, or was it like Marvin Gaye, or was it like and in the 90s or in the 2000s, was it Foo Fighters, or was it like DMX, or because it just depends, more so than between just rock and hip hop. There's you have punk, and you have alternative, and you have new wave, and you have metal, and you have gent, and you have soul, you have trap, you have grime, you have all these sub things in between, and you might vibe with one area. Like I am very much into grime and UK drill, probably the bloke. So
well,
that's about it.
Well, I think like also too, like like with some like not now. It's not that I'm not into any mainstream artists. There are some that I do think are really like talented. Like Bruno Mars, I think is probably like definitely one of the talented musicians of our generation. I think, and I think what's cool about him in a sense is that like he relates to like he definitely has a little bit of that nostalgia feel to like Prince and Michael Jackson, but he is able to put his own flavor on stuff and like, add new stuff. And because I remember him saying in a 60 Minutes interview that like people come up to him and say, "Oh, that sounds like maybe with Prince or Michael Jackson," and he's like, "You're damn right, it does." He was saying like music is about that. It's about like. You're always going to be like influenced from another artist. That's just the way it is. Like, and it's like, because it's like that, because that's the same with Michael Jackson and Prince. They were influenced from James Brown. So it just like it comes, it just from time to time again. The wheel of like the circle of life just keeps going on and on. And I think like, and another song I've just listened to is I've heard a little bit about her. I know she's been rising. Olivia Rodrigo. I know there's been stuff about her. And I listened to her song "Good for You" and all that. And I know people talk to me about her album that came out, and they say it's actually pretty good. And I've listened to it, and I'm like, oh, this is actually not that bad. And it's also honestly got that like I feel like that punk element too that I haven't heard in a really long time, especially in new music and all that. Which I think it's cool in some ways. Of that, like it's not like it doesn't sound fully popish in the sense it has a little bit of that rock edge and a little bit of that early 2000s element. Like when I first heard it, I thought it was an early 2000s song.
Yeah, it's everything has been done before in music in terms of chord progressions, in terms of melodies, in terms of all that. It's about, and my dad always used to tell me this, it's not about what you say, it's about how you say it.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot of the times, like I definitely did it when I first started with coming to Oswego and starting to make music and all that. I was worried, oh, am I just ripping this person off or am I doing that? And it's important to be aware of that.
Yeah. Well, it's like the whole Marvin and the Pharrell Williams case.
Yeah. It's important to be aware of that, but you know, it's also important to let that go to an extent because you're going to be influenced by people. And if I feel something and it feels good, and then I'm like, well, shit, I just ended up playing the exact riff from, sexual healing or something. It's just put your own spin on it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing too. And I think like it's funny like when you say like it reminds me of like the Borderlines thing because I actually had to do an assignment for that in my class. I talked about that like case for mass media law class. And in it, like honestly, like it was interesting because the song, like that, like they're talking about with Borderlines, that the song that was considered like ripped off was Marvin Gaye's "Got to Give It Up," and I listened to it, and I noticed like a similar difference, but they do seem like two different songs in some ways. So, and like I guess like, and I think like what screwed them in the past was like with Robert Thicke saying that like he loved the song "Got to Give It Up." And I think there was a lot that screwed it up then because they talked about their influence with Marvin Gaye and all that. If those interviews didn't come out, then probably people wouldn't have paid that much attention to it. I didn't know that this was like a big deal at the time when this song came out because I remember the song, but I don't remember because this was happening like 2014 or 2015. I don't remember anything of it. But like, I mean, it's funny because it's like, I mean, I think that is true that like, now I'm not saying that that's the best thing, like, ripping a song off or even if you are and stuff like that, like sometimes subconsciously you just do that. I'm like, you don't mean to sometimes, like you just have like, when you have songs in your head, like an earworm and you listen to a song, it's like, then it can just become a new thing. Like for instance, like I remember Billy Joel talking about when he first came out with the song, Anthony's song, Moving Out. He was singing it in the tune of a Neil Sedaka song in the 70s called Laughter in the Rain. And his drummer threw his sticks at him saying like you idiot, that's a Neil Sedaka song. And then so like and also too, I think like that was the same like even with the Beach Boys with Surfing USA, it was accused that they were copying Chuck Berry's Sweet Little 16. And in some ways, yeah, like, and Chuck Berry won in a sense because he got a songwriting credit on it.
Right. I suppose when I'm there's some that when I'm at the piano or something and I'm trying to come up with melodies and I'm coming up with stuff, I tend to like also come up just play songs that I know from stuff that I like, and then I take the theory from that and I try to and I understand that, and I'm like, okay, what if I take this because I see what tricks they're doing to get that sound. I'm like, oh well, that's a very 50 thing to do, or that's a very he's doing a cool thing where he does a bit of chromaticism here. How do I learn that technique, and then so I can use it in my own way?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah.
And sorry, what were you saying?
No, sorry, I thought I had something else, but that's about it. Yeah.
Oh, no. Anthony, do you have any questions for our guest?
I think he's frozen on. Oh, there he is.
But yeah, no, because I'm doing a lot of stuff in the background.
Oh, okay.
As usual.
I'm
like, so like, who's your favorite artist right now?
Right now,
yeah.
Damn, that's always a hard question. Like, shit.
Or like top 5.
Shit. I was never good at these. Okay, I got no specific order, but like Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
Let me open my Spotify real quick.
You can do a top 10 if it's not enough. Okay. So right now, I guess Duran Jones and the Indications, Kendrick Lamar, Stormzy, Sampa the Great. She's very good. She's from Australia. Going through my Spotify because I'm cheating right now. Thundercat, definitely Thundercat. Yeah. Bobby McFerrin. Bobby McFerrin's that's a bop.
That's not the guy who does would be happier.
What? Oh yeah. But you got to look up his like live improv on YouTube. It's
okay.
Apparently, I used to dance to that when I was a baby.
Oh really?
So don't worry, be happy. Yeah.
Funny.
And then I guess one more would probably be. I don't know. But yeah, pretty much like funk and hip hop and some old school stuff.
That's funny you say that. Like as a baby, apparently, like you danced to that song because it was like it's funny how like with music that like we found out that like we had an interest with that our parents tell us about that we had an interest with when we were like just like 18 months or 6 months old.
Yeah.
Apparently, my mom told me that I hated and would scream when the song "Every Breath You Take" by the Police would come on, and and the Police are now like my favorite freaking band.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I have a poster somewhere around there.
Okay. How do you feel about the Police?
The Police, the band, or the Police, the 12?
Yeah, the band.
Okay. The Police. Yeah. They're actually. Yeah. What is it? Sting.
Yeah.
So I used to be a lot more knowledgeable about classic rock because my dad grew up in all that. But
Right.
I feel like I'm a bit rusty, but yeah, I like a lot of Police's stuff. I don't listen to it now, but I definitely respect it, and I definitely liked it a lot more at one point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it's like a lot of like their like I love their like of course their singles and all that, but for me, it's their album tracks that I think are my favorite. Honestly,
Yeah.
To make it. But like Steen as a solo artist though has like I don't vibe with him as a solo artist. Like he's got a few good like single hits, like "If You Love Somebody, Set Them Free," "We'll Be Together," and like All This Time. But like that's like basically it. Like his other stuff, like especially on the first album, like it starts off with "If You Love Somebody, Set Them Free," and that's a good like rock jam and all that. But the rest of the album is just too mellow for me and all that, and that's like most of his stuff. Like it's too mellow for me, Like I don't mind a mellow song, but I can't have a whole album of that stuff,
Yeah, there's the classic cases of a lot of people who are in bands that go solo and then
it doesn't work out.
It either does or doesn't, but I feel like a lot of the time there's people who, because you have all the personalities of the group coming together, whether or not there's like some kind of like tension between them, but that tension is what's kind of like grounding the whole sound and creating a whole blend. Like look at Queen when when Freddie Mercury tried to go solo, I think he did.
In the 80s.
And then Wu-Tang Clan as well too.
Yeah. Well, he had that like one hit with that opera singer, but that was like it.
Yeah.
He really didn't do it. No, he didn't really go far without them, and really. And in some ways, I mean, like of course he's dead, but in some ways, they're also pretty successful without him in a sense. Like I mean, of course, he's dead, and it's in tribute of him, but like they're doing pretty good with Adam Lambert,
Mm-hmm.
and all that. But yeah, no, I think you print on a good point that, like what helps with a band is even when there's like, like is that tension. And in some ways that helps a lot with like the Police. The Police were at a very toxic energy to begin with. There was a lot of like Sting and Stuart Copeland apparently did not like each other. There's videos of them in the early 80s and 70s beating the crap out of each other. And
wait, who did this?
No, Sting and Stuart Copeland. Apparently they hated each other. And there's videos of them. No, like there's a video of them getting interviewed by Martha Quinn on MTV in like the early 80s, and Stuart Copeland saying, "Can we get a shot of like me whooping Sting?" And like then he puts like he pours water on Sting, and Sting's running after him, and then in the next shot, Sting says, "I'd like to advertise for a new band," and they were broken up like right after the tour.
Oh my god!
that was like I think like 84 because like they did Synchronicity and then they went on their tour, their last tour, and their tour was so bad apparently. And apparently it was reported that like every night he would just get into a rage after the performance and just like, and also too like apparently also too it showed you that signs were bad when their last album they all recorded their parts in separate rooms. They did not even record in the same room.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, and too, like they were like, you know, like one of the most successful bands at the time, and really, you know, I mean, they make good stuff, but like I think that even that edge kind of like can tell in their music because you know it's a mix of stuff. It's new wave, it's punk, it's reggae, like all coming at you at once at times, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what works well. And I mean, I think like you bring on a good point that there are some artists just don't do a good job being solo because they need that other part of that band. But there are some groups that like there's one guy that's carrying it, the whole group, and they become successful, like Creedence Clearwater Revival. John Fogerty was like the only really like, you know, like force of the band. And then, you know, when they broke up, none of the guys had any really success as a solo artist except John Fogerty years later. And and that's the same like even like with Wham, with George Michael's group. Like the other guy, nobody honestly remembers that guy, Andrew Ridgely, like because he barely did anything with the group. It was George Michael all along. And it's so weird that they called it Wham. Why he just I don't understand why he just didn't go from the start because apparently Andrew really like did really barely anything with the group. And then you know George Michael released his solo stuff and became successful. Andrew Ridgely I think had an album like one album and it flopped and you know like he's never been seen from again. I mean he comes in the spotlight every now. I think he talked a little bit after George Michael died, but that was like it.
Yeah, it was the same with like Foreigner, I think, with I should know his name.
I think Mick Jones and Lou Gramm. I think Lou Gramm was the lead singer and Mick Jones was the guitarist, but that's the only guys I know from the band.
Oh, wait, maybe I'm thinking of a different band. Hang on. Who's the guy who made the song In the Air Tonight? Phil Collins.
Phil Collins, yeah. That's Genesis, yeah.
Genesis, that's the one. I get him.
Yeah, I don't know. I know people really dig Genesis. Like, there's this guy on YouTube, Rock History Music. I found him because he's a huge fan of Elton John, but he's like a huge Genesis fan. I don't know that much about Genesis at all, honestly.
Genesis is very good, yeah.
Yeah.
Very skilled musicians, especially like Boston Rush, those types of.
Oh bands. Yeah. Rush
Boston,
is too.
Yeah.
Very
smart musicians there.
Curtis considered legendary Drummond, you know, rest in peace, you know, yeah.
Oh yeah. My dad schooled me on all these things because he grew up. He was a drummer, and he.
Oh really?
You know, he kind of that's kind of like the first stuff I was like into was because my dad always played classic rock.
Really?
But I feel like I had a deeper experience with it because my dad would tell me all these stories about like all these people but like in a first-hand basis almost like he had been on he wasn't there for a lot like he wasn't like you know a part of like Queen and all that stuff, but like he was you know a musician during that time where everybody moved to Colorado to Boulder and all that and he had been all over the United States and he would tell me stories about like the known stories, but also like personal stories that he had with like Led Zeppelin. Like he was at the last concert of Led Zeppelin where they like the concert
or as a musician.
He attended. He was just as a listener. He went to the one where he went to the concert where they came out with Stairway to Heaven.
Okay.
So like they never played it before. They just played it at that concert apparently. So he tells me, and they played that for the first time to the world. And they're like, here's a song I hope you guys enjoy it. And they played Stairway to Heaven. And then that became, you know, a legendary song. And I think
he also listening to that earlier today, Stairway to Heaven.
Oh, word?
Yeah.
I haven't listened to Led Zeppelin in a long time, but he went to BB King. So BB King was playing. Wow. Back then, like concerts and like the music industry wasn't as organized.
Yeah, of course.
And so he was playing at a college basement, and the Allman Brothers, before they were big, were opening up for him.
Oh wow!
And my dad had this friend who was just crazy. He would just start fights and shit, right?
Yeah.
And he would try to get up on the stage, and they would just throw him off the stage. He'd jump up, he'd throw. He's like, "Oh, there goes Ricky," and like. And then like there was a fight broke out, so everybody had to stop playing, go to the side, and I think he said Greg Allman, but he also said the one that died, so I think he meant the other one.
Oh yeah, Green Allman, yeah.
Yeah, he was like, he was saying something. My dad was like, "Yeah, watch, he's gonna get his ass kicked, and we're gonna have to take him out of here." And he's like, "Oh, that's cool, man. You got a cigarette?" And he bummed the cigarette off of my dad.
Oh god. Oh, Dwayne Allman.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. Oh, that yeah. No, well, it's funny because like my dad around the time was like, huge music fan, all that stuff. Like not as big as like with Rush, but like the groups that he was into, like that he got me on, of course, was the Beatles, but big Bob Dylan fan. But one of the groups that he loved and is still, and I'm a fan of course too, because of him, was the Grateful Dead. And you know how they have like, how the Grateful Dead's fans are known as Deadheads?
Yeah.
My father was a Deadhead. My father was he followed them for like about a year. In 81, like he had money from his grandfather. When his grandfather died, he inherited some good money from his father. From and basically what he did was he traveled like all over like the country, cross country from Colorado, Alaska. He went to Alaska to see the Dead. Like he went to like 60 or like 70. He might have even went to more shows, but he said like there was like I think there was like 1 year he saw like about like 50 shows or something like that, like in 1 year. But the thing that was cool about the Dead was it's not like they were one of those groups that played the same set list every night. It was always something different, and because they were not a normal type of band and not a very they were not a commercial band. They had more of like a cult following in a sense. And in 1980, when they had their 15th year anniversary concert at Radio City Music Hall, my father went, and I think he went to all 3 shows. And I think he actually was in like the first row, I think, for one of them, or maybe all of them. I'm not sure exactly, but he talks about that there in the city, like they like Rolling Stone did a cover of all the fans and stuff like that. And like because I told him one time I was on like a thing about the Grateful Dead of that, and there was like fans in 1980 talking about them, and one of them looked like my father. And I said there's this guy who looks exactly like you. And I'm like, he has no glasses. And he said, oh no, it can't be me then. He said, because I always had glasses on. And like, but the funniest thing was he was saying, he was saying like, because there was millions of Dead fans. So I don't know if I ever saw myself on TV, but I do remember he was saying like that, like there was a Time magazine cover of, fans waiting online. Mm-hmm. And he was saying, and my dad was saying, I think, and I could have sworn I saw myself like there because he was one of the people online with a recliner chair. Now he was saying, now there was like a million of other guys like with recliner chairs and like glasses and black hair. So, so he couldn't tell. So, of course it's like he couldn't tell for sure if that was him, but like from what he could tell, it's sort of like he thought it was. But yeah, no, he talks about that stuff. He talks about seeing Billy Joel when he was not as big yet. Like this was in 76 because my father went to Colgate and Billy Joel was playing at Colgate, and this was in 76. So Billy Joel already, I think at the time, would then released Piano Man, had Turnstile out, because I think my dad says that he remembers him doing like stuff from the Turnstile album, like Miami 2017 and New York State of Mind. But he was saying like like how like that, like he was definitely like a guy that like put on it, like that knew how to put on a show, because like he talked about there was this story where that Billy Joel was talking about, like with these, like the people, like what was big at the time was groups like Kiss and all those like heavy metal groups, and he goes like, you see these guys, and what they do is they put bananas in their pants to try to make it look like their junk is big and all that stuff, and like he's talking about
bananas.
Yeah, no, he's talking about how it's like some of these hard rockers just like stuff bananas in their crotch area and all that stuff. Try to
use paper towels or something, like
it
has to be in the shape of a penis.
I don't know. Well, like it makes sense because no, I've heard Billy Joel's a great entertainer, and unfortunately, I never saw him live. I've seen Elton John live, and all that, but no, but yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. That's the power of music, and like I think it's cool in some ways that like you and I are for instance like like had a lot of like of that. Like the love of the 60s and 70s from our parents, and love that music still to this day in some ways, and in some ways too it's like it's almost like in a sense we formed our own voice from that and not just our parents, and then like but then like I guess in some ways I wonder like does like when you get into like the rap stuff, like does that sometimes make you feel like it's your own voice? Because I don't know, I mean, well, unless is your parents into that stuff too, or is that
I mean, no, my parents. It's weird. I feel like for most people, most average like moms and dads that are like my dad is 70 years old.
Oh,
There's
okay.
a big age gap.
Okay.
Um,
Well, my
and
father's 62, so it's not like, I mean, like
okay,
we're younger, but yeah, but still, like, because I know there's some dads that are just like in their 40s or 50s that are our age, you know. So
right, yeah. Um, so like they're fairly. I like to think that they're fairly open minded, but my dad's not into hip hop at all.
Right.
I think I feel that I can get him into some of it, but it might be very difficult. But I think the thing is about it is you have music that you're into in your formative years and when you're 15, college. But I don't like to believe that that's a concrete thing because a lot of the music I listened to in high school, I don't listen to now.
Yeah.
And I think it's very much an exposure thing. I wasn't able to be given the environment of Long Island.
Yeah.
I was not able to become as exposed,
Yeah.
or was I as admittedly as willing, unfortunately, at the time.
Yeah. No.
That I feel a lot of people on Long Island face the same thing as well.
Yeah.
Coming out of there was very beneficial.
I mean, I think in some ways of what you're saying too, it's like, I guess from what I can understand is that like in some ways that you feel like with Long Island or like a specific type of, environment that we're in or area. Like for instance, like with me in my high school, it was very stereotypical in the sense of like, like white as well. And like, they wanted to be like, it was known for, they also, my everybody in my school wanted to be known as the school with a weed problem. Like that's what people would say. Like Northport was known for being white and having weed, and all that. But like, and
Sounds like Rocky Point, to be honest.
yeah. And I mean, listen, Northport was a great school, and I don't want to, badmouth that too much. But like, I feel in some ways the environment did not, like have a lot of the interests that I had for like in a music standpoint or like that. Everybody was into more of the pop aspect, or some people were into the rap aspect, but didn't, I feel like, even understand the story or understand the history. Some people, I think, honestly, just like saying the bad words and stuff like that. I think liked having that, like I don't feel like a lot of people were into it as like the story wise or like,
Yeah. I could write you a book about all the reasons, but I don't think we'd have time for that.
Yeah, exactly. I would read that book. Yeah, I'm sure. No, I'm sure it'd be interesting. I'm sure there's a lot that I relate to that with that book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe one day, you never know.
Yeah. Maybe we'll co-write that one day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Anthony, stake on that. Come right ahead. That's if you want to get in the stake on that of our book and stuff like that. Go ahead, man. You're definitely involved.
Yeah, of course. Well, there was two things I wanted to kind of bring up. I guess one, I kind of wanted to address something you were saying with the police.
The band or the or
whichever one you want it to be.
Okay, bet. Which one we talking about?
All right, but with the band, like,
yeah,
Tom was saying, like, then none of them really like made it big, whatever. I don't fully agree with that because I've told him this before. Like Stuart Copeland, I think he had a pretty like decently successful career because he's done some stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I didn't say make it big. I just was talking more about Stin's solo career.
Yeah. No, I agree about the Sting thing. But like with Stuart Copeland, like he's composed like a lot of things like since going solo, and probably some of the biggest ones some people might recognize is like for one, he did the theme song for the Amanda Show.
Yeah.
And he also composed the music for the PS1 Spout of the Dragon trilogy.
Yeah, I didn't know that he did the Amanda Show until Anthony told me about a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of figured it out because if you listen to like the the PS1 Spout of the Dragon games, you can kind of hear his music because he has like a certain like way he like maybe it's like a certain kind of keyboard that he uses or a certain way he like plays it. You can kind of hear it. I always remember one of those songs in one of those games and then hearing the Amanda Show. I was like, wait, I've heard this tune before. But for the longest time I couldn't put it together. And then I've kind of so happened to stumble upon something online. I was like, oh, that makes more sense now.
Right, of course.
What kind of music are you into, Anthony?
I'm into a lot. Like I listen to hip hop, R&B, rock, electronic music, classical.
I'm pretty much the same
Trying
way.
I'm trying to get back into jazz. There was a point I went through like a jazz phase.
Yeah. What kind of jazz though? Like improv jazz or like kind of like band jazz or like
I'll be honest, like with jazz is probably the one I know the least about, like as far as like who like the big stars are, like the subgenres and all that.
yeah.
Like it was just that type of thing I just kind of like listening to because I guess how I develop my music takes over time. Like aside from like what my parents were listening to, or even like my oldest sister, because she was into like pop rock and stuff like that. The stuff that was kind of big like in the '90s and the early 2000s. But like aside from that stuff, the thing that really like kind of shaped my music taste was actually video games.
Yo, same. I'm a huge gamer. I grew up gaming. What
Yeah.
what games brought you good music?
Well, like I said, on the Sparrow, Crash, Final Fantasy,
Okay.
Zelda, Sonic.
Nice ones. A lot of the classics.
Yeah. Another thing too that also helped develop my music taste as well, and I would probably say the thing that really got me like into rock music, especially, was actually anime too.
Which one?
Anime.
Oh yeah, I'm a big anime buff.
Yeah.
You like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
Not exactly. I tried watching it before. I'm gonna give it another shot. Like, I'll just say that I wasn't prepared for what I was getting into when I first watched it.
Oh yeah, that's the best part. I love JoJo.
But yeah, that's a series I definitely I am interested in getting into more, just because one, it has it has like cool superpowers and stuff like that. That's something I'm really into, like especially like really creative abilities, and on top of that, it has like the whole musical side of things.
Yeah,
Yeah, Tom, if there's any anime you ever decide to ever get into, I think that one might be up your alley because there's a lot of musical references.
Okay.
Like a lot of characters and superpowers and stuff.
It's also a requirement for anyone who watches anime to watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. In my philosophy, you have to watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
It's funny, like I've never been a huge anime fan. Like, not that I don't like that. I hate it. I never would watch it. I never was always my cup of tea. But I know I had a friend who tried to get me into it, and there was this one show I tried to I actually did enjoy that he showed me called Monster. I don't know if you.
That's good.
Oh, really? You know that show? Okay.
Yeah, that's a highly acclaimed series. So yeah,
yeah. I like
recommendation.
I wanted to
Which
see
was that one?
Show
Monster.
It came out in 2004. I wanted to see the full thing, but like because my friend was showing it to me on this like site, like it wasn't an actual streaming service for it, and I couldn't, and I never could find it again, so I never got a chance to watch it, and I kind of gave up on it. But if I ever find it again, I'd always watch it again to see the whole thing.
You could try looking it up on YouTube because I remember there was a point in time where you could just like watch a lot of those stuff.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Like when you watch, I feel like when you watch like stuff like on YouTube or like find it like on those like one of those sites, you gotta watch it right away. Those series because like one day, because if you don't like watch it, because if you wait a month later, it's possible to get taken off. You never know with that stuff.
I just found it.
Oh, Monster.
Yeah, on YouTube.
Okay. Oh, it's okay. Oh, is the full episodes on YouTube? Okay.
According to Reddit, I guess. Let's see if it still works. Yeah. Oh, it's no longer available.
Yeah,
but you can find it if you wanted
to. The best websites I would say to check out for like anime stuff, I guess legally, if you can't find one on YouTube, would either be Hulu, Netflix, or Crunchyroll. Those are like the three sites that I recommend when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But that like a lot of the OSTs and stuff like that really got me into that stuff. I was like, oh, okay, I can really rock with this stuff now. Pun intended.
Yeah.
And
a very one of my favorite animes is Violet Evergarden, which is very good for being a Netflix original. And the opening music, oh my god, the music in that is amazing, and the whole anime makes me cry every single time I watch it. And it's just a beautiful anime.
Yeah, but like I said, Monster, JoJo,
Demon Slayer.
I haven't seen Demon Slayer, but yeah,
Oh,
it's on
so
my
good.
to-do list. I just haven't
You
got.
have to. And the
One
music
Punch-
slaps.
One Punch Man. I think like it's like it's a parody of like superheroes and like the typical like shonen battle whatever. So
Yeah.
I
I
definitely
never watched
recommend
too much
that.
of that.
And you have the other series that was made by the same people. It's called Mob Psycho 100.
Hmm.
You can kind of tell from the art style. So
There's a lot of cool like movie animes as well that are like just really beautiful and tell really deep stories. Like yeah, I forgot what the one was where like she's deaf, but I can just Ko
there's a cool
Nakahachi.
one that they aired on Tanami a few years ago. It was during the summer. I think it was even like summer or something. It was pretty cool. I liked it.
I think I know what you mean. It's called A Silent Voice, the thing I was talking about, by the way. And in fact, there's an anime that I don't like, but the intro is a bop and a half, and it's called Cannon Busters.
What?
And Cannon Busters, it's on Netflix. It was by LaShawn Thomas, like he made it, and it's supposed to be like, well, the opening is like, I feel like the anime was done kind of all over the place, but the opening was very fucking good. So.
Well, and it's funny like that you say that. Like, there's a series that I don't really watch that much. Like, this is an anime, but like, but I love like the theme song. Yet I can't find the full version at all. Is the show King and Queens? Like the theme song. I don't, the Kevin James show, the one where he's the postman and like he lives with.
The song for that does slap though. It's good.
Oh yeah. You're talking about that, like the theme song. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the theme song is really catchy, and it's only like 30 seconds. Like, it's like yeah, it's just very catchy and all. But like, it has that New York type of style, like of music, like a little bit of that 70s feel, or just that 70s, just that New York rock feel, and all that.
Yeah, but that goes. I was gonna say that goes into like the importance of having a good soundtrack,
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
like the opening theme song and even like the ending one.
Oh yeah. The whole reason why Cannon Busters is blown up is like people watch it for the OP, the opening.
Well, like that's like The Sopranos. Like their intro is like the best when the group Alabama 3 woke up this morning. Like that's the only show that I watch that I do not skip the intro to.
No,
like
the intro for that is so amazing. Like,
oh no, it's a perfect, and it's not like it's like a dazzling intro too. He's driving through New Jersey. That's it. Like it's just the road. But I think what makes it more entertaining is that song. And I don't think if you had another song, the intro probably wouldn't have been as entertaining. It's something to do with that type of song. The way the way like the certain instrumentation is used. Yeah, that's another hat he uses. He either uses that sometimes, but yeah. But his Pokemon hat, that's how I knew him in Suffolk. Because I told Devin that you were from Suffolk too, but I don't think you guys ever were at Suffolk at the same time.
Oh, when did you go to Suffolk?
I started going like during the fall of 2017.
Okay, that was like.
But then you weren't there for that semester, right, Anthony?
No, after that I took a break and then I came back during the fall of 2018.
Okay.
So I graduated in spring 2018 from Suffolk. And then 2017 was the first year I went to Ireland. 2018. And then 2019, I was going to go back for a third trip and kind of did to Scotland, but I had to cut that short for a bunch of reasons. But I ended up in Virginia in 2019. And then 2020, I came here. So it took me 3 years because I graduated high school in 2015. It took me 3 years to get my associate's degree because I didn't understand what college worked. And then I took a year break from having to move, and then so that's why I'm 24 and still in college.
And you're 24. Oh, for some reason, I thought you were the same age as me, as 22, or like I thought you were younger than me, actually.
Yeah. Don't be ashamed of that. Like going to school is hard, so
I don't know. There's no shame. Yeah,
that's all that matters.
Everybody's got their own path in life, and and there's no, it doesn't bother me that if somebody sees, that's it's the same thing with music. I try to I mean, it's a cliche thing to say, I listen to everything, but
Yeah.
I think that like something to learn from every piece of music.
Yeah,
Every
it is.
yeah, and every piece of music is an expression of
Yeah,
someone's inner thoughts and a culture,
yeah.
or just it's a very beautiful thing.
Well, yeah, and I think a thing about that too is because I've always said like, and I said this with an interview I had with a band from Long Island called Evil Sweet. I don't know if you know of them, but but I talked to them about like like how I feel like with music and like the type of lyrics and the stuff that they write is very much of like storybook and stuff like that. Like something like simple. They the way they describe it is like think of it as like reading like a picture book. In the sense like that.
Mhm.
That's like the type of thing they're going for. But
Yeah.
like I feel like too, like I was telling them that I feel like in schools, when you when you read stuff that's like poetry and all that stuff, like some maybe teachers will show poems, but they'll barely show any songs. And I feel like songs are just as like poetic as like poetry by Robert Frost or like but like the thing too though is like a song that I think that's very like a social movement. I think is the '60s Buffalo Springfield song "For What It's Worth." I mean, I think it's just as the protest song. Listening to it again and again, it's just like when it was like during like these riots that were going on in the '60s, and I think it was like the interesting thing is like it's and the thing how Steven Stills write it is not like anything poetic. He's just saying how he has it like a conversation. There's something happening here. What it is, it ain't exactly clear, and he's just explaining in the whole situation. I mean, that's all it is. It's just like the way you would talk to somebody. It's time we stop. What's that sound? Everybody go like it's like it's not like it's just like it's discussion form. Like that's the thing that's so brilliant about it too. How it is. It's just people talking, or like even like with like Crosby, Stills and Nash, and like for like and Young for Ohio, with the song Ohio about the Kent State riots and about the 4 people that were killed. And like the thing that's so interesting about it is like, well, the anger that's like used in their voices and stuff like that, but the the guitar solo and all, like like the guitar riffs too are just like nail biting and screaming at you. And then like David Crosby at the end, like when they're doing 4 Dead and he's going like how many more, how, and it's just like it sounds like it's like he's breaking down in tears and stuff like that, which apparently I heard in the comments like apparently he did after like the recording or something like that. He broke down in tears apparently. And it's just like, but that's like that's why I think like nowadays, like too, like with everything, and I'm not going to get political or anything, but like with everything going on these past 4 years and all that stuff, and just like with everything going crazy with the pandemic, it just caused so much, I feel like, tension, man. It was hard to find the right music to really identify with this time. But for some reason, like with this year, with things rising a little bit different, like the music of like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young or something, it's just peaceful at times, like with the harmonies and all that stuff. Like especially like when you listen to something with Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, like when you just hear like the beautiful harmonies in that. In some ways, it just shows you like in your mind, it's just like okay, yeah, like this is a kind of state of mind I want to get into. I just like it's like it just I feel like the mantra in that is like it's just like I just want peace. Listen this to find a element of peace.
Something that gives me hope. I listen. There's a very good podcast called The Resistance Podcast on Spotify, and they have very good music. I found a lot of really good music at the end of that. Happy birthday, hip hop facts. I just saw your comment there.
I haven't seen it. Oh, that's funny.
And they have very good stuff there, and I find a lot of like blues, like soul, gospel, funk to be very uplifting and also evocative of like it does both at the same time. Like it evokes, it brings out the pain that I need to get out, but it also gives me hope. And I was I've always been a huge Lord of the Rings fan.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's been a huge aspect of my life is the Lord of the Rings, because they came out when I was like 2 or 3 years old, and I grew up with them. I've read the books, I've read the Silmarillion, all that stuff, and the music in the films is just, it's very good. Even though it can, from a musical theory standpoint, it might not be the most complicated thing, but that's the power of sound in film and all that.
Yeah.
And that always gave me a lot of hope.
Now, a question I was curious about is like your time, like in Ireland and traveling around the world, did it give you sort of like inspiration in like your music at all or no?
I mean, I was very much into Irish folk, and that's how I became aware of and learned through music the Irish language. I'm not fluent, but I did a lot of learning through music to learn the Irish language. And I would say, yeah, absolutely, being able to sit down and join a session of some random musicians at a pub in Ireland was very cool. Even though I was not a good musician at the time, was a very great experience. And you only learn more when you travel. You learn a lot. And I think I'm waiting for the day where I can go back when I can go back traveling, maybe in a more comfortable way.
Yeah.
And I can experience the music. I'd love to go, to the Caribbean and learn a lot about like soca music and all the types of Caribbean music there. And the same thing to go throughout Africa, throughout, Europe and Asia. There's just so much that I want to learn from doing that. And I hope I get the privilege to do that again.
What places have you been to so far?
I've only been to Ireland, Scotland, and England. As far as outside of the United States. What's that?
And how was those experiences?
Life-changing. Very, very beautiful. Definitely, as an American and someone from Long Island, you have your own, ideas of what the place is going to be like a lot of like anybody anywhere has with a foreign place, and a lot of them the culture shock is very real, and I was glad to have it. And I've kept in touch with a lot of my Irish friends and with the state of Ireland and the UK in general, and just the sense of community that's there, and the nonchalant, and just the way that people can have banter there and poke fun at each other, and just it just seemed more my personality was that, just not taking it as seriously as some people might hear. There's definitely problems that are over there. It's not necessarily always the grass is greener, but
well, if you talk about Ireland, because I know that because my aunt's husband actually, he talks about that too. Like with his father, like they'll come out in the summer because of the troubles there and stuff like that during like the summertime with the discrimination.
Like in the past or like right now?
I forget exactly where. I think he's in Belfast. He talks about it in Belfast that's where there's like it gets very like heated in the summer. I was actually there when that happened. Yeah. Okay. Because I'm like I don't know if that was the exact place. I'm like, so don't quote me on it. Like you would know much better for being there.
So so it's nowhere near as bad as during the time of the Troubles. I don't know what the state is right now, but when I was there in 2018 during that giant heat wave when everything was in drought, right. In Belfast in Northern Ireland there is a divide between, they say, Protestants and Catholics, which is case. It is the case, but it's not so much. It's tied in with unionism with the UK and republicanism, as in having a free state of Ireland, and just it's a whole historical thing. There's many factors to it, but the reason why it's Catholic and Protestant is because if you're a Protestant, you were typically a unionist and a loyalist, and vice versa. So every year is an anniversary around that time of the Battle of the Boyne, which the Protestants celebrate because it is, it's a victory for them as opposed to for the Catholics. And so they have parades and they wear orange like sashes, kind of like and they have parades and marches, and they just kind of like, it's kind of like a soft power march. I mean, there's a lot of people who argue that it's a cultural pride thing, and I guess to an extent, yeah. And there's people I've met, and it is, and then it's very complicated to say whether it's one or another. And there's people who do, but they have bonfires, and they take the Republic of they take the Irish flag, the Republic of Irish, and they burn them, or they do some crazy shit where they create mannequins of Tigers or Fenians, or and they hang them. So it can get pretty, it does, tensions do rile around every year around that time. And I was in I was staying in with a friend in Newton Ards, which is near Belfast, and we would go into Belfast, and I saw a bunch of broken glass. And I saw some marches, and they're typically just parade type things. They're not really like, a big deal, especially in that area where they're predominantly Protestant. It's more in places where I think it's more mixed, like Belfast, I would say, but also like Derry, or I mean, I would say Derry. If you say Londonderry, you're a Protestant. If you say Derry, you're a Catholic, and you can get, stabbed or, depending. There'll be people who are like, will ask you where you're from in a different way, and you can tell, and you have to know which one to say. There's a classic joke where a guy came up and was like, "Are you a Catholic or are you a Protestant?" He's like, "I'm Muslim." Right, but are you a Catholic Muslim or a Protestant Muslim? There's that kind of like tribal, territorial type of going on. But
interesting. No, I mean, it seems like a lot of experience. I mean, and it definitely seems like experience you could totally write about in a song in a way, too, and all that stuff. Like, because I know. I mean, I even know that like the Troubles of Ireland, some of the stuff of like that the police did, the song "Invisible Sun" was about that, and of course U2, of course, because they're from there, of doing like Sunday Bloody Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sunday Bloody. I don't know if you know how much you know about Bloody Sunday.
Don't know as much about it and stuff like that. I mean, I know that was around that time, but you definitely explain it.
I think it was 1974 or 76 or somewhere in between. There was a peaceful protest so Catholics have been traditionally discriminated against in Northern Ireland by the Protestants because they're a whole history.
Yeah.
So they're barred from a lot of access of things like the Protestants were. So kind of second-class citizen.
Yeah.
People have been protesting, and there was a peaceful protest. There was violence. British paratroopers came in and just started opening fire.
Yeah.
And they killed several people. And yeah.
Well, no. I mean, I remember hearing a little bit about that. I mean, that is something I'd want to get more into. I mean, I'm a history guy and all that stuff, but that is one part of history I'm not familiar with, like in certain countries. I mean, I know a lot of American history, but it's interesting learning like stuff from like countries of like like stuff that goes on in Ireland and all that stuff, or like or Europe in general too. Because I mean, Europe is just such a fascinating continent in general. I mean, of course, with a lot of like of the great talented musicians come from there, but also too just the history of it itself too,
Yeah, and so is many places in Africa. I mean, look at Mali and Nigeria. Is a lot of a few friends who come from there, and
wow,
it's just very interesting to.
Yeah,
I'd love to. I mean, every place has its own problems. So
you
travel, you take your own risk, but
like hearing their own stories from it and their experiences too. So.
Yeah. How long do you typically do these interviews for?
Sometimes they roll, like two of them rolled on for like 3 hours. We can end soon too because I got work in the morning and all that.
Right. No, I know. I wasn't trying to rush you.
No. I'm just like no. I mean, like honestly, too, of like when we do these interviews, sometimes they'll go through like sometimes we'll just be like a conversation flow.
Yeah.
So like for instance, like today's interview was good and all that, but it was very more of like question format, and we did like conversation and all that, but I felt like it worked better as more like sometimes they work better as more of like a question thing. Like the first, because we did about 4. We've done. This is the 5th interview so far. Yeah. So the 4 others we did. The first one was more of like question, like kind of format. Even though she's a good friend of ours, and all that. It was more of like 40 because we only had like 40 minutes on stuff. But with the other guy, the other guy I interviewed was somebody I went to high school with, who's a musician and filmmaker, and I hadn't seen him in like 4 years, so I knew that our stream was probably going to be even longer in a sense because of like catching up all that stuff, and because he's a huge music fan. And his favorite group is like the Kinks of the '60s. Like he loves the Kinks, and like we just had like we talked about his stuff in the interview. Then like for the next 2 hours we were just talking about musical influences and all that. And with we had another, and Kato, him, we had him on, and like we just was like basically like 3 hours and stuff like that as well. That was
3.5 hours.
And 3.5 hours. And the funniest thing I do with my thumbnails is I have like a quote usually from what the person says, what I try to do. And his quote was like a little bit of story time. And because it was funny when I was talking to Akil before the interview, he was saying, Kato could tell a story. And I said, that's funny you say that because that was like the quote I had. He said a little bit of story time. So that's what I just used as as this quote because I thought that worked pretty well. And also too, I try to like use it as like what to define what the interview is and stuff like that. To make a good one like in that way. But a few questions I like two more questions that I've had in mind that I didn't get a chance to say yet was now I asked about like if like influences from of your travels and all that. But do you have any influences from because I know we were just having that conversation of anime. Like, does any of like stuff from like the media or just like stuff from your childhood of anime or Lord of the Rings come to your mind when you?
Oh yeah, Howard Shore, the one who composed all the music for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Pokemon, obviously. So, all the like stuff you watch, Toonami, and also just all the stuff from like the early 2000s, late 90s. Like Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the majority of my music though at that time would be like classic rock and also like 2000s rock because I have two sisters who are a lot older than me as well. They're almost 40, they're like late 30s, so they were listening to like Red Hot Chili Peppers and like I think early what's his name Panic at the Disco. Yeah. Which it's when I think back, I was like, he was around then.
Yeah,
he was around since like the mid 2000s at least.
I've heard stuff they did in the 2010s, and that's when I was hearing more about them, like in 2018 when they had the song High Hopes. And I didn't know that was the same group that did the song 2005, Closing Goddamn Door.
That 2005 album I still think is probably the best one.
But it's only him now, I think I heard. There's one guy in it.
Yeah. I remember he's pretty much solo now.
Well, it's like Tame Impala. It's only one guy.
Yeah. I was like, how old is this guy?
Yeah. I know that's like with some music too. Like some groups that like some stuff that comes out in 2010s, like I didn't know came out in like the early 2000s. I mean, now a lot of music that is around now, or a lot of stuff that dominates charts, I don't think like a lot of the artists are usually in. I think like maybe some are around for like 10 years. The only group that I know that are probably still big that have been around now for 20 years now is Maroon 5. I mean, I have different opinions of them. I thought they started out pretty good, but their last album I thought was shit, honestly. Memories is not actually that bad. I actually thought that was okay, but like Red Pill Blues was I think their worst album. And like don't get me started on the song Girls Like You. I mean, I just feel like there's nothing there. There's no melody. There's nothing at all in there. Moves Like Jagger is actually a pretty good song. That's actually.
Oh no, it is not.
Not commercial though. That was the problem. That's when they got commercial. Their first 3 albums were pretty good. Like especially like the Songs About Jane. Songs About Jane was probably their best album. Some people say that was their only album that was good. But I'll argue that like stuff from like their second album and their third album were just as good. But then when Moves Like Jagger came out, that's when they got too commercial. They had a little bit some good songs, like I mean, Payphone was okay, One More Night and Sugar, but like a lot of the other stuff, like I mean, I know some people like Maps and Animals, but like I'm not like a big fan of those stuff. But then they did in 2017, like What Lovers Do and all that, it's not my thing. But the duet with Rihanna that they did in 2008, like If I Never Seen Your Face Again, that was good too. And then the and then like something as well.
It was just my sentiments on them as a band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I guess the other thing I want to talk about is the song you sent me of like the stuff that you're doing as a record producer. Now the artist that did it was that was Jaden, right? Like that's
Yeah, that was something I made for that was like one of the first things I made, and it's not a very good mix, so it's definitely something I actually remixed it to make it sound really good, but I lost it because I lost all my stuff on my hard drive. So, and I forgot to upload it to SoundCloud. So, but that is Jaden. I got a bunch. So I made I made everything in the track. I had Jaden come in. I said, just freestyle. So he did a bunch of random bullshit freestyles, and then
so it's not so he wrote that stuff. So that was his stuff. Like
he just freestyled bullshit like. And then I would cut it up, and I would take like a word or a section and put it here. I would pitch shift a little bit here, or like, so I kind of, in a way, made the lyrics, but he spit them.
Okay. No. It was cool because it was fun. Like when I first heard it, I was like, that sounds like Jaden. And then the way he's rapping, I'm like, yeah, that sounds like stuff that Jaden would say too. It's like, yeah. That definitely sounds like Jaden all over it. But no, it was cool and all that. And I think like what you're doing is cool. Like I mean, like I said, like I always thought you were like that's why I wanted you on the show because I remember like in Suffolk, like you always just seemed like an interesting guy having a guitar around. I mean, that's like in a sense like that's a character, having like something around. And when I talked to you, I remember you talked about like how at the time because you were passionate about stuff. Like we talked about like Donovan and all that stuff. I remember that. And honestly, I remember like thinking it's like maybe you will be like the next Donovan and all that because like the way you had like the way you were playing the guitar and stuff, and also that you were going to Ireland and all that. In some ways I forgot like whenever I think of you, I forgot like your name was Devin. I would actually think of you as Donovan. I'm like, oh, because whenever I see you, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the kid who likes Donovan. I'm like, yeah. Because there's not a lot of people that like his music as much, or not as much people that know him as much. And like I like some of his stuff. I'm not like I don't know that much of Donovan, but like especially like the stuff from the '60s, like Mellow Yellow and like Hurdy Gurdy. And of course,
Hurdy Gurdy was about. I think that's the one that I was like obsessed with. Was like
yeah. I think the one that I liked more was like Sunshine Superman, and I think the thing that's interesting too is the friendships he gained with Bob Dylan and Paul McCartney, especially like on Mellow Yellow. Paul McCartney sings backing vocals on that.
Yeah. Oh shit! Really?
Yeah. And like Donovan was honestly almost like a guru to that in some ways, the Beatles, and actually taught like Paul McCartney like some musical chords that he didn't know. And like he was on, I think, their trip to them when they went to India and stuff like that. It was the four of them: Donovan, Mia Farrow's sister, and Mike Love from the Beach Boys.
I'm surprised it was Paul McCartney and that George Harrison that he was like closer with.
Oh, really? Oh, because guitar wise, you think?
Yeah. Well, that and just the whole. George Harrison. I don't know enough about the Beatles.
No, that's fine.
Wasn't George Harrison the one that was very much into like going to India and bringing that?
It was. No, I know. I mean, I guess the reason why I could see Donovan getting more into and vibing with Paul McCartney more is because I think because Donovan was also just already a skilled songwriter, and I think the problem with because George Harrison was just as much of a good songwriter, but John and Paul, because they knew him in their early days, and George was the kid of the group. He was the he was the kid. He was the guy that was younger than them, and whatever John and Paul said went with the group. He didn't have as much input as all. They didn't give him that much input early on, and I think when he was starting to make these songs, I mean, I think of course that there was a lot of jealousy, of course, but also I think it was just they kind of were like they didn't see him as that much of a songwriter and all that, and I mean songs like that he did in that time in '66, like Taxman. I mean, just great song, and then such an interesting protest song too. It's very it's such an angry protest too. Actually, slamming two people in Parliament. Actual names too. And then doing songs like "Wow, My Guitar Gently Weeps," something, and "Here Comes the Sun." And in some ways, the guy who I had on a few weeks ago. This was Sabino, which we've talked about in the past. That like, and he feels that like if George leaving the Beatles was probably the best thing for his career. And in some ways, like I see what he's saying, because like George Harrison did All Things Must Pass like right after, and that was the biggest like selling like post Beatles album out of all of them. I think that was the most successful post Beatles album. I think that was even because it's funny, like John Lennon had the least amount of success as a like chart success wise, like than the rest of them. Ringo had like more hits than them for a while. Ringo I think had because in '73 they all released an album around the same time, and I think Ringo had like the biggest album I think, and all three of them appeared on it. It was like it was honestly like they said it was like a Beatles reunion, yet they were all on different tracks.
Yeah. I don't know enough about the Beatles, to be honest. But
okay, no, that's fine, man. Yeah. The Beatles are my life. I've been a fan of them as a kid, and like they'll always be my favorite. I mean, I always have other music I'll be a favorite of, but I'll just go into like probably my top like 6 favorite artists are the Beatles, the Police, Elton John, Billy Joel, Elvis, and Buddy Holly.
Okay.
Yeah, what would you say like is your 5 or 6?
I think I was saying earlier, was it like Kendrick Lamar? And,
yeah. Okay. Well, that was I think for like hip hop artists. I think was it Anthony?
That was everything. Really.
That was everything. Oh, right. That was.
I suppose I would have thrown Bastille or something in it at one point, but I feel like they're kind of getting a little not as good as, or they don't have as a consistent amount of bops as like nowhere near as consistent amount of bops as those people.
Yeah, of course.
So, but yeah.
All right, yeah. But and Anthony, what would you say are your favorite 5 or 6 artists?
Okay. Let's see. Rakim. Pink Floyd.
Oh.
Yeah. You wasn't expecting that, was you?
I know, because I know you so well. I forgot that you like Pink Floyd's your favorite. Because
Yeah, I actually meant to mention them last time. I think I answered this question, but I just forgot.
Yeah.
I feel that right now.
Well, no, he's a good historian with hip hop. I mean, he knows a lot of the hip hop facts, Anthony.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the early stuff. No, he's very knowledgeable in that.
Yeah, for example, like apparently today is like the anniversary of like when hip hop first started, so it should be like I don't know, depending on like what year it was, because there's always been that debate. Some people say 1973, some people say 1974, some people even say 1972. So the anniversary would be like around there. So yeah, but if you want to say 1973,
I've been doing that since before then. I'm pretty sure they've been rapping since like the 30s or 20s at least. Not in the way that you think though. Like they used to have this thing called I forgot what it's called, but it was basically like the OG form of like rapping, where they would just be like, I gotta find you a video, but like it's just a different term, but they would basically do essentially just rapping. They would just be like,
some people,
like rap has been around. Rap has been around like longer than for a long time. But I mean, like hip hop as as a genre and a subculture, it started like in the '70s. So, and like hip hop on record didn't start until like 1979. With depending on there's been some debate on that too, because. For example, there was a funk band called the Fatback Band. They made a song called King the Third. So people consider that the first rap song. And there was some other stuff that came out around that time, but obviously like the biggest one that was released that pretty much made it popular would be like the Sugar Hill Gang's Rapper's Delight.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all 1979. So that's pretty much like the only like official like 70s hip hop recordings.
Mm-hmm.
Everything before that is just like tapes of like what they were doing like in the parks and like live performances and stuff like that. Yeah, like that first era of hip hop pretty much goes all the way up until like 1982, 83. What some people call the foundation era, like because like those first few years like on record, it's just them doing like doing what they were doing in the parks on records. Although interesting enough, like sampling didn't really start until like a little later on. Like what would I guess be considered like sampling in that earlier form was actually just like more of having like live bands kind of recreate the music in a sense. Just
Yeah.
because the technology back then for like sampling wasn't really like good enough. That wasn't too like I would say whenever Molly Marr started doing it, that's when like sampling officially started. But yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I like a lot of sampling. I like to I want to start using a lot more sampling in my music. I think right now I'm still figuring out how to make music.
Right.
Oh yeah, let's see. I forgot it as a thing, but yeah, it was Rakim. He's my favorite rapper of all time. I'm not sure if you ever heard of him. He
Mhm.
came out in the mid late '80s. I definitely recommend. I definitely recommend his stuff.
Yeah.
Like I said, Pink Floyd. They're probably my favorite rock band overall.
Mhm.
Queen.
Oof, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Queen's good.
Let's see, three more. Daft Punk. Um, the Gap Band. That's a funk band. I definitely recommend their stuff too. It's three brothers, mind you.
Yeah.
Maybe you've heard some of their music because a lot of people sample it.
What's that
And
one drum loop that's like the most sampled drum loop in history? It's
that's
from
from that's from James Brown's like drummer. He's called
yeah.
Funky Drummer.
Oh,
Yeah. That's that
Yeah,
one that sounds like the Powerpuff Girls intro.
yeah. James Brown in general is probably the most sampled artist ever. Like him and his band, the JBs. Like outside of them, I would say like Parliament Funkadelic, because those were like two bands there were two separate bands that was run by the same guy, George Clinton, and then they became like one band over time. And from what I've heard, they've actually been around since the 1950s, which I constantly forget about. And something Tom Keys reminded me is about how James Brown had been around since the 1950s.
yeah.
I
His first
completely forget that.
his first song was "Please, Please, Please" that came out in '56, and I think it did have chart success on the R&B charts, not on the Billboard charts, but also not only that, but yeah, another song that was big of his in the '50s was "Try Me." But then around like the early '60s, that's when he started having more hits, like around '64 with like well, I think in '62 he had like I think he had some hits on like maybe like 1960, but there were songs like Night Train. He did Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, and yeah, and I Feel Good, which were like the big hits of the '60s. That at that time he was already the biggest artist, but yeah, in the '50s he had like some success. I mean that's like the same like with Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke had a lot of the success in the early '60s with his stuff, and then of course Change Is Gonna Come was one of his last big songs that he did before unfortunately he was shot. But in the '50s he had like a song like You Send Me and stuff like that, and then like and also too yeah, like in 1960 he started the decade with What a Wonderful World.
Mm-hmm.
I do have to go soon.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. We're wrapping up anyway, so yeah. But yeah, I guess any final thoughts or anything else you want to ask our guest Anthony before he goes?
I guess so. Yeah, like since you're I think you already talked about a little bit like with the hip hop artists that you enjoy. Like if you have any more like artists or whatever that you really influenced you, but like especially like with the R&B and funk and soul side of things, like what artists do you usually listen to in those like on those fields of music?
I actually have like an area in my Spotify that I kind of just like revolve around. You ever get like a good like chunk of like really good songs by really good artists, and you're like you want to play shuffle play on your Spotify, but you're like no, not that. But then I'm just gonna go back to like where I do really listen to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would say definitely like Marvin Gaye. There's actually I think he's a lesser known artist. Marcus Charles. Definitely Bobby McFerrin. Duran Jones and the Indications, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, Rod Wave. That's what I've been listening to a lot lately. But overall, is those people plus John Bellion. I traditionally have had a big influence by Ed Sheeran as well. I don't listen to him as much now. And Thundercat.
Yeah.
And but yeah, also Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars. And so I'm just naming them all off. Yeah. There's also a lot of obscure there's a lot of obscure people to listen to as well, like Blanco or Ivy Soul, Out From Nowhere, Campana, all these things. But also like Infected Mushroom, which is like just a complete nutty like electronic.
I think I've heard of them.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I've heard them. I got introduced to them by my other music majors friends. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I found out.
I just noticed the chat. No.
This is our friend Jordan. She's like, oh, who is this? And I'm like, this is our guest, Devin. And she's like, oh, nice to meet you, Devin. Yeah. She's a friend of ours.
How's it going?
She's like, I hope you don't like. I hope you don't like country. And she's like, just kidding. I don't care.
I'm not really into country though.
Okay, you hear that, Jordan? You're saved.
I know I said I like everything, but I mean, I do give value to everything. I don't listen to country.
I mean, the old country I'm okay with. I like Hank Williams stuff. Johnny Cash. I know he's considered country, but I consider him more of like rock and roll stuff in the 50s age, like Phones to Prism, Walk the Line. I feel like that's more like a rockabilly, like rock and on the border of rock and roll in a sense. Considering
it's rock and country basically.
He came out the same time as Elvis, Carl Perkins, and Jerry Lewis on the same label, which I have this poster right here of all of them.
Yeah. It's funny. It's a funny, interesting story with him because I remember hearing like when it came to Johnny Cash said that he didn't really have like a lot to really talk about his music. So the person told him to go and sin. And then come back with better music. Yeah, and he did, and that's how Walk the Line came out.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah,
but well, Devin, I gotta say, thank you for being on. I'm glad that we got a chance to have you on today. It's cool that we got a chance to do 2 interviews today. I think that shows progress of what we're doing or just what we're trying to do at the moment, of especially trying to get as many videos as we can before the summer ends. And I feel like there was even a theme today with having you and Nikhil on at the same time. It was actually kind of good of doing basically like having like up and coming musicians on, like kind of people who are working on their craft and talking about the musical process. And I love hearing that from musicians and people who are working on stuff. And like definitely with the progress and the type of success that you've talked about that you've won and all that stuff. I mean, I think that's good, and I think that's great that you do this. Good luck with the recording engineering that you're doing, the producing and all that, and the music, man. I wish you a lot of good luck, man.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me. It's very cool that you guys have this platform.
Thanks. And definitely, if you ever have another thing to promote, you're definitely welcome to come back on. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, thanks very much.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, it was great having you, Devin.
All right, man. Thank you. It was very nice being here. Yeah.
Sure thing. Yeah. All right. Talk to you later.
Next time then, yeah?
Yeah, sure thing. All right. So yeah. So this oh, she's like, I'm pissed I missed 2 live streams today. Please forgive me, Thomas. I'm here. Whose purpose with Malika? Oh, well, thank you. Is this somebody you know, Anthony? Or
yeah, pretty sure.
Oh, all right. Yeah. But no, that was our stream today. Devin was really great. Did you enjoy having him on?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, worked pretty well. No, he's a really cool guy and all that. Nice guy to talk to, all that, and just brings out good vibes and all that. And that's why I thought he'd be good for the show. Talk about. I know he's passionate with music and all that. So this was our other live stream today. We're gonna try to do as many. We are gonna try to get as many more interviews as we can. Like I said, like Jordan or the people that are watching, if you know anybody who would like to be on our show, who's promoting some musical like event or album or just the musical process, well, come on, come on down, and all that. And but yeah, no. So works pretty well. So what does Jordan say now? But you're not done because you still need to do the entire interview again because I missed the entire thing. I'm sorry, Jordan, but I think you realize that the world does not revolve around you. I'm sorry. You have to realize that. Wake up. Or I could fast forward and watch again. Really? Now that's a good idea. Yeah, maybe you should do that. But yeah, I know. I'm such a bad. I'm not a good friend. I mean, at least I admit that. But yeah. No, so yeah. No, but yeah, I'm gonna be doing some Radican Rockcast this weekend and all that. Anthony also has his show, Always Late to Everything and all that. Yeah, and all that. But yeah, it works pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say for Jordan. Yeah. Hit me up later because we need to discuss like
yeah,
we're going to do the next like Chronically Chill podcast. So
yeah, hit us up, Jordan. This actually might you know what? Because we're trying to get this started, and yeah, you kind of a musician. I mean, you make music and all that, and you write music, even though you're not self-promoting. I'll go on a limb. I mean, the other two guys weren't really self-promoting either. Actually, the only person that was self-promoting was Emily, in a sense, with her album that we had, but that was pretty much it. So yeah, no, from the rate we're going at this, come on down to our interview, Jordan. You are welcome on anytime. We'll talk more details later. Okay. Are the hearts for that? Good. See, we make dreams happen on this show, people. We make dreams happen, Anything is possible.
yeah.
Now, before I go on a rant, I should probably just go a little bit more to the ending of our time now. But whatchamacallit? Yeah, no, so we'll do more. We're going to try to do more interviews. I will be doing the Radigan's Rockcast stuff. And yeah, no, that'll be that. And Anthony, you have your show, Always Late to Everything, your other podcast, so definitely promote that.
Yeah, so technically I have 3 shows, so
okay, all right, sorry for getting that.
Well, right now it's just the main 2. The third one was called 65 Roses. That's just me by myself discussing like different topics revolving around the disease that I have. Always get tongue tied with that, cystic fibrosis. And the other 2 is Always Late to Everything. He's on there sometimes as a third-ish host, guest, whatever he wants to call himself with that. It's just me talking about anime, video games, music, and some other stuff with my co-host Brady, the social stud. Maybe you've seen his YouTube channels. He does history stuff. Give him some subscribers. He's trying to get to. Let's try to get him to 100K. Let's try to get Tom to 100K too. That's why we shoot high. And of course, my Chronically Chill podcast that I actually do with Jordan. Who needs?
Who's this? Somebody you know him, man?
Contact with me after this is done. And shout out to. What's up, Carlos?
Oh, that's Carlos. Oh, hey, Carlos. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Also, Carlos, you need to come. Like when I bring the Always Late to Everything back, you need to be on that show, man.
Who are you talking to, Anthony? Oh yeah, it's probably Anthony, right? Yeah. No, she's like, I've been stalking some of your TikToks and your Facebook lives. Wow, Jordan. Oh my God. I always knew one day you'd be a stalker. I just didn't know that soon.
I knew I knew it.
Yeah, no. See, Anthony knew it too. You see, you're caught on video. It's too late. It's too late to hide, Jordan.
Yes.
Nah, we're just kidding. Jordan's good people. Come on, she's gonna be a guest on the show, so don't f with her.
Yeah. But anyway, like.
Yeah, no, that's true. You do. Otherwise, we would be mad at you. We'd be so mad at you if you didn't, But of course, we're gonna rip on you no matter what, That's just how the game works.
Yeah.
Report me to the police. I don't care. I don't think the police would do jack shit, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, but anyway, like I have my Chronically Chill podcast that I do with Jordan. He's both of my co-hosts. We bring on people with different disabilities and have them, come and tell their stories and promote their businesses, brands, or whatever, and to show people thriving in life. And there's actually a few. So far, I guess we've been interviewing a lot of people with, CF, cystic fibrosis, which makes sense because that's the type of people that I know. I do know some other people with some other disabilities, but yeah. And who knows? You may see a few of them on this show, since I know a few musicians who just happen to have CF. So,
You can arrest me.
and since she's talking about stalking my TikTok, yeah, you should go follow that too.
Yeah.
I have a TikTok page.
I have a TikTok too that you could follow as well.
I thought you deleted it.
No, I don't delete it. I just don't use it as much.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, you delete the app.
Yeah, on my phone, but I still have it on my iPad, so I still can post on that.
Oh, okay. No, I thought you meant you delete the account.
No. Oh
Yeah,
God.
No, definitely don't do that. But yeah, I have a TikTok page. Go give it a follow. I'm trying to get to at least 1,000 followers on that. Well, I would like to get to 100 followers, 100,000 one day, but at least try to get us to at least 1,000, like 8,000 subscribers on YouTube, 1,000 followers on I don't know, social media, TikTok, just because it allows us to have at least certain perks, at least the most basic of stuff, since YouTube doesn't really allow much to happen if you have like lower than 1,000 or just anything really. But this one particular video I put out on my TikTok page has been getting a lot of follows or whatever. I did a anniversary thing for Sonic. This is the 30th anniversary, and that kind of blew up. So I don't know, right? Share that video, please.
Wait, on TikTok? Do you have 1,000 on TikTok?
I actually have almost 4,000 views on that.
Oh no, I was like, Jordan's got 1,000 followers on TikTok, or is that another social media? Is that
wait, go back. I didn't see that.
No, she's like, on what? Jordan, explain now. I want to hear it now.
How are you doing that?
You're not patient enough. Hurry, type. For the love of God, whoever type.
Right, lady, how you doing? What?
Now she's just fucking with me. She's not writing it that fast enough to fuck with me. All right.
I don't know. I mean, she could possibly get that video.
Oh, you waste your time doing a laugh. Yeah, I okay. You have. Oh, so you don't. I have. Want to know my secrets?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh God, I know where this is going. Shit, I know where this is going. Just say it or don't. Oh no. This is gonna be bad, folks. We're gonna get demonetized from this shit.
I'm pretty sure she has enough sense not to go that far.
Does she? Jordan, I'm sorry, but you have no filter.
She doesn't, but
we know that. You know that, but we love you no matter what.
Okay, where is your TikTok page? Send that to me.
I have 1,000 followers. Seriously, where are you guys? What are you guys laughing? Why are you guys laughing about this? I haven't seen it. You never told me about it.
Wait, no. Last time I asked her, she had a TikTok page. She said she didn't have one. When did you get one?
Okay, that's TikTok. I thought it was. It's not because I know you the Katy Perry page was okay. We should save our personal drama for other stuff. Let's not have this for everybody else. But yeah, no. So okay, so Anthony's got podcasts. I've got stuff. Follow us. His channel will be there, and then all that. And you never asked. Okay, you know what, Jordan? I'm not getting into this right now.
But wait, Jordan, you have a podcast too, don't you? Are you still doing that, or what happened with that? I don't think she did.
That's where we're waiting to. All right. Yeah. Jordan will be on the show though. That's a guarantee. I know Jordan hasn't fully committed, but sorry, we're already, we're out on her already. Jordan's gonna be on the show no matter what. There's nothing we can do. There's nothing you can do about Jordan. Sorry. We
definitely gonna discuss this later.
We're discussing this later, and Jordan will be on the show no matter what he says. Okay, bye. We better leave before she can comment. All right. No. All right. Yeah. Haven't fully committed. Oh my God, you sank that ship really low, dude. Yeah, I know. I'm sinking it harder and harder. Yeah. It's sunk already. Like, what are you talking about? It's sinking. It's already sunk. All right. I'm Tom. He's Anthony. Right. We have other stuff on our channels that will be on the description. Jordan has her stuff. She will be on the show and all that. And thanks for tuning in today to our double live streams for today. All right.
Thanks for everybody who watched.
Stay tuned and see you guys in the next stream.